So soy, become the motor. Hello folks, and welcome to another Soy spikeboarding tutorial. Here's a really good look at a skateboard spike. You can freeze that anywhere you want and check out that spike tip. That's what makes it all happen, and that is the ergonomic shaped foamed handle with the silicone grip underneath it. And that's what's making spikeboarding possible. Without that hand tool, you wouldn't be able to flawlessly perform at this level that you're about to see. So we are at the Torrey Pines State Natural Reserve, and we're pulling out here onto Coastal 101 Highway, otherwise referred to as Coastal. Just Coastal, it's all you gotta say. So we told the locals. So we're on the Coastal. And we're going to climb this for the second time today. First time we did it inside of their reserve, and that was beautiful, and it was a little steeper. This is going to be a little longer, and it's going to be around the backside of the park out on open road, but this bike path is protected, as you can see. It's got dual lanes as well, and it is protected, so they've done an amazing job here. Thank you very much, State of California and County, wherever we are. Here in Encinitas, we're just below Cardiff by the sea and all these beautiful places. There will be a little bit of sand as we go up that has washed off of the land and the dunes and the cliffs here, and we will go around it. We could stand up spike around through it, stand up spike straight through it, but what we want to show you on this video today is how well the sport interfaces with both strokes as you climb. And this Torrey Pines climb is just sensational for it because the pitch is not really steep, and it's also not really low, and the pavement is wonderful. So to transition between the two strokes is really smooth. And what you're going to see is you're going to see us coming from the rear quite a bit. So you see how we're kicking from the rear, and then we can transition between the two strokes, and we're carrying like 3 to 4 cadences on each stroke style, and then switching, and you saw there a drift to the rear so that we can switch between the strokes. We call that connecting or connector strokes. Notice how we're switching between the Kubi cross stroke and the stand-up spike stroke. There it is, seamlessly, because we've got that foot in the rear, and we drifted to the front and went straight over to the other side, and bang, now you can connect both strokes seamlessly, very well, without any loss of power and without having to switch either. Those two strokes connect very well. Then again, the athlete gets back to the rear of the board, and that's another really great feature about Soy boards, is that they drop, and you can find the fronts and the back really quickly with your toes and your heels. And of course, there's plenty of space to get on the board and go heel to toe. Athlete there is size 42 European, size 9.5 American shoe, with plenty of space left over. The board seems big, but it really isn't. It's only about 29 inches long when all is said and done with the stand over length, and it's 10 inches wide. And very similar to cycling, you're just going to dial in a tempo that you're comfortable with, and then begin to work. And of course, by working with these two strokes, we're slowing down, because the stand-up spike stroke is a little slower than the Kubi cross stroke, but you're actually going to work and generate bigger caloric burn, and of course you're going to develop a stronger stand-up spike for when you really need it. So this is late afternoon, and the sun is going down here, and there aren't too many bike riders out here. And then we're going to come down this, and you're going to see how we do it. We do it in tandem with a bicycle, and we call that VeloSpiking. So If we weren't filming this, our bicycle partnership in our VeloSpiking relationship would just take off. The bike would take off, summit, and then return back down and probably find the spikeboarding athlete somewhere in the middle of the climb and then flip a UE, or maybe go all the way down to the bottom and repeat again. So the nature of endurance athletes is to repeat climbs, and this would be no different. And with that kind of technique, the two athletes will meet at the top, and neither will have rested or stopped or had to wait for the other. And now both athletes will be able to descend while the spikeboarding athlete leans on the middle of the back of the cycling athlete, and that's what's going to get these two athletes down this summit. Now, you could cadence break this. Wouldn't be a problem. You could look around on our videos for more cadence breaking and how that's done. Just keep your speed in check. But cadence braking really doesn't happen too much faster than, say, 14, 15 miles an hour, and this summit might be a little tedious to do that. And fret not, say, oh, I don't have a partner to go out with. Well, don't worry, because Sasoi is actively engineering a fully operational disc brake for its board, and once it's here and arrives, you'll be able to push on those drops and offset your weight just the same way as bicycles offset their weight by pushing on the handlebars when they squeeze the brakes, and you will be able to descend these kinds of mountains no problem with a Sasoi brake. First, we have to finalize the engineering and then prototype it. We'll take the prototype and test the bejeebers out of it, make sure it works, and then we will be bringing that to market. And then, of course, spikeboarding doesn't need to really worry that much about where it's going. Just go any place you want, just like a bicycle, and come down anything you want. So here begin the rocks and the sand that you're going to find here from time to time on this particular summit, and you can just go right around them, or if you wanted to, you could spike, stand-up spike straight over that stuff, no problem. We just weren't in the mood. And we also wanted to keep this video dedicated to the CXC climbing, Kubicross CXC stroke, as opposed to showing a lot of slowing down back in there in the stand-up spike. But you could stand-up spike straight through that sand, no problem, but you'd lose a little bit of momentum. We weren't in the mood to lose momentum. This is the end of the first day of a 7-day production run that we did. We do this all over the country, and we're in Vermont, and Lake Placid, and New Paltz, and we're all over the USA, St. Louis, Denver especially. Quite a bit of filming in Denver, and checking out all those roads and summiting up Lookout Mountain. And where in this good country will spikeboarding begin to incubate and people grab hold of it? We don't quite know, but we're gonna find out. So after this, we're headed back here to this area in the summertime to summit Palomar and set a little time record up that in stand-up spike. At the end of this reconnaissance production run, we went to Latigo Canyon Road and we summited that. Did a time of 1:22:33 in stand-up spike up that summit, and of course there is prize money, significant prize money for racing in stand-up spike, and if you're interested, just give us a holler and we'll let you know more. But as you can see, this climb has sensational pavement, wonderful, lovely pavement, and summit this twice and you'll be set. This is probably about a half hour up and back down. So if you summit this twice or maybe 3 times, you'll have gotten yourself a really sweet workout. And if you want to go over and just do the natural reserve, that's going to be a little steeper, and it's a nice little warm-up over there. You could go slow and then come over here and really lay it down. So we're sort of being conservative here. We're not hammering too fast, but at the same time, we're doing a good bit amount of work, as you can see. It's a little chilly here. It is the second weekend Actually, it's the first week in February, so second month in the winter, second month of the year, and California winters are absolutely fantastic. So to be wearing just sun sleeves and a vest, well, that sort of tells the whole story, does it not? And there you have your climb right behind you, and you can see we're going to get a little more sunshine here as we head to the top, and it's lovely to be on such a big bicycle lane that's also protected. Really astonishing. And of course, folks, what you're looking at is a simplified form of roller skiing. If you don't know what roller skiing is, just look it up. NCAA Olympic team and World Cup cross-country skiers who ski on snow about a third of the year, and then they roller ski the remainder of the year. And that's where the spike tip comes from, and that's where the whole notion of the sport of spikeboarding came from. It was to begin to treat the board exactly like a roller ski is treated, and a roller ski is about 28 inches long. It's a board, and it has bindings, and it has wheels on it. So skateboards are boards with wheels, and they just need to be treated like cross-country roller skis, and then bingo, they go uphill, and they're divinely casual because you have no bindings, and you have no boots, and you don't have straps. You can check your phone, you can reach into your pockets, and you're not going to wrestle around with ski straps on your poles and tips that are crossing and poles that are crossing. You've got one board and one shaft, and that's it, and off you go. But you're engaging upper body verbatim. I mean verbatim. The arms are exactly like cross-country skiing, and of course you're engaging the core and the lat. That's why those arms are staying at 90 degrees, and they are not outstretching. There's not a bunch of quadricep and tricep that's being used. And of course there's no forward catch. Notice that vector line's always traveling to the rear. As you begin to summit this, it's got a bit of a conniving false flats. Notice we're really beginning to pick up speed here. There's the Pacific over on the left on athlete's right, and look who we find. There you go, a little bit of sports innovation. We find a guy doing Stairmaster on a bicycle, no less, and that's a lot of fun to see that up there. And off we go, spiking around on our own innovation, which is the innovation of cross-country skiing simplified. And up and over we go. False flats done. We'll just gain a little speed here, do a couple of lights, and show you how healthy you ought to be feeling. You ought to have a little left in the tank always when you summit, and if you don't, then you ought to just start summiting things that are a little smaller. So you should always be able to accelerate at the top of all your climbs, and you should have plenty in the reserve to keep going and not have the summits waste you. If they do, cut the summit in half, turn around in the middle, or go find things that are a little smaller and keep increasing your fitness. Endurance fitness takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And this particular athlete got all of his heart and lung fitness in cycling to begin. So as you see, the traffic out here gets going pretty good, about 45 miles an hour or so. But you do have a bike lane, but it stops being protected. So you've got no business being out here unless you are in full control of all your gear and you are not a threat to other people or yourself. So stay on bike lanes, dedicated bike lanes with no car traffic till you can really stay in control. So we're going to go one or two more lights and then flip around, and then we're going to do a little more work to get to the sled ride, and then we're going to show you how to VeloSpike with a partner. And there'll be a lot of other ways to VeloSpike with partners. You can Madison sling. We're doing a lot of Madison slings. We just haven't filmed it yet. Those of you who don't know what Madison slings are, just look up Cycling Madison World Cup. Cycling Madison World Cup, and you'll see one of the most beautiful ways of racing a bicycle ever imagined. And that was, of course, the highlight of that racing used to be in Madison Square Garden, and that's what Madison Square Garden was built for originally. It was 6-day bicycle races, and that's where you're slinging power in between your cycling racing partner and yourself. And of course, we've begun to do Madison slings from bike to board, where the bike continuously gives power to the board, and that's a lot of fun. But VeloSpiking is just a duathlon sport, very similar to run, bike, swim. It's just a dedication to knowing both sports. So if you do know cycling, I encourage you to learn spikeboarding. If you've already gone through all of your racing yayas and you're 12 or 15 years into cycling, learn spikeboarding and then come back to cycling, and you're going to just discover how delicious it is to take a pause from cycling, and then how really delicious it is to begin to blend these things. So VeloSpiking is nothing other than this athlete going out for a 65-mile road ride with 5 or 6 guys and mixing it up and jumping some wheels, or jumping in a race, or going out slow steady. But the fact is, after about 3 or 4 or 5 days of spikeboarding, there's nothing better than jumping on a cycle and knowing the language of performance cycling, and going back and forth between the two sports is really, really delicious. And those of you who run and bike and swim, it's the same thing. I'm sure I don't mix in a lot of swimming. I do swim. I just hate pools, so I don't mix into swimming too much. If I was living near open water, I'd be jonesing for swimming all the time and mixing it in with cycling. And sadly, I cannot run. This athlete can't run at all. It's nothing but one running injury after the next, until it seems as though you're going to be crippled. So that's principally probably the biggest reason why spikeboarding was innovated, because the innovator of the sport could not run. So the impact of running is tremendous. Those of you who can handle it, hey, I'm jealous, green with envy. There's a little turbulence that we had to go through, so the pavement on the other side of the road is not quite so happy. And there you have some curious bystanders who are filming. Wouldn't be the first time spikeboarding got filmed. It's probably the 10,000th time that spikeboarding got filmed. Whether we are in California or New York or Denver or any place, people enjoy the sport. They exalt in seeing the high performance of it, and of course they marvel and actually ask what on earth it is. Well, it is skiing, guys. That's what it is. And mixing skiing with cycling, why don't you just call it VeloSkiing? So that's what we call it. So we do roller ski quite a bit here on the Northeast, and we like to do that when it's warm in the summertime. Again, roller skiing is a little colder than spikeboarding. Spikeboarding, if you're living someplace that is cold, is insanely hot. So it's a very, very warm sport. It's warm for your hands. It's warm for your feet. You're tapping out the feet constantly, and you're tapping out power exchange through the hands. And so unlike cycling, where you're just a popsicle at the mercy of the wind chill, spikeboarding is really, really warm. So as we come over the crest of this downhill, as you can see, there's quite a bit of traffic here. We begin to get a little bit of protection, but these roads are not for even the beginning of intermediate. They're like advanced intermediate roads, whether you're on a bicycle or you're on small wheels, inline skates, roller skis, or spikeboarding. You got no business being out here unless you're very, very comfortable with your equipment and keeping it in control. So you've got some fast cars zipping around here. So here we go. We're going to do just a little bit of carving. Then you're going to see us come in and just jump onto the back of that bicycle. And for your benefit, we're going to show us pushing back off the bicycle. We're just going around a bunch of rocks here. That's why we pulled out. We don't want to do those at that kind of speed. Although if we had to, if you absolutely had to, you can look back over your shoulder. You saw a lot of cars. You just get to the back of the board and let those front wheels float over. After about 15 miles an hour, the front wheels are going to float over most everything, especially if you get crazy low and you put all your weight on the rear leg. And just some casual carving is going to get this done as we come in and keep popping off the back of this bicycle all the way down. So you're watching very, very casual VeloSpiking braking. And as you can see, we're also switching a little bit, but we're mostly staying to our dominant side because we do need that kind of control out here on this road. And There you see the little cliff on the other side. We just come up and we're just casually pushing back as we come in. We're telling the cyclists that we are coming in. They're hitting the brakes as we come in to make that docking contact. And they're really giving us a lot of braking. So right about there, the bike starts hitting the brakes big time, and then we're pushing off of a braking bicycle. That's the trick to it all. So up, and there you go. And that gives you the ability to switch hands, switch arms. Now when you do come in for the bike, in this particular instance, the bike is staying on that left side of the bike. Well, you know where that spike's got to stay. That spike needs to stay on the outside left side when you're coming in, and of course vice versa on the other side. And also the pedal of the cyclist on that left side needs to be up. So as you come in, the cyclist needs to make sure that their pedal is up, because the front of the board can touch that pedal. So these are the things that you need to learn a little bit, and when you start VeloSpiking with a partner, that's the way it goes down. If you're the same size partner, all you need to do is jump on the bike and they jump on the board, and the spike fits them, and the spike and the board, rather the bicycle, fits you. And that is why flat bar bikes are so great. You can take any road bike and you can put flat pedals on it, but who wants to put flat pedals on a road bike? We use a Giant fast road bicycle. It's just a very inexpensive bike, but it hauls ass, and it actually has disc brakes on it, and it's just a flat bar bike that's very comfortable. So here comes a little roadie that's coming through, and we're keeping our spike neutral right behind us, so that's no big problem. That's the other thing, folks. You've got to keep the spike parallel to the board and in control. So mind your spike and keep it in your mind's eye so that you know where it is at all times. And notice how we've really stayed on that dominant side, and we haven't been switching, just been playing it cool. And for the purposes of keeping it real, here we are holding on to the bike just a little bit longer, and that was the reason that all that consternation was coming up. As you saw, there's quite a bit of gravel consternation there, and we just took it really mellow. And it's the SpikeBoarding athlete that gives the braking commands and requests what needs to get done. So we're out here in California on a trip, and the last thing we need to do is take a little vacation off the board, and you should do the same. So when you are spikeboarding, the same as on road bike, if you see anything sketchy at all, just pull it back, take it easy, and don't ever go for it. What you want to do is go for it by digging in and getting stronger and going harder up the hills. That's the same in road cycling. So the idea is to not take undue risk by getting down. And as you see there, this is a natural reserve, so you're going to have rocks and you're going to have things that might be scattered all over. And of course, this was the first time that we come down this, and whenever you go down something for the first time, always pay attention. And even if you've gone down it a bunch of times, never take for granted changing road conditions, whether you're on a road bike or inline skate. So make sure you know the curves and the turns in the last day or two. But everything can always change, and don't be taking blind runs without knowing what's around. Here on the East Coast, we've got a road right outside New York, and it can be ever changing all the time. So do not take any kinds of risks at all. Here we are back in the sunshine, and we're gonna pop in close to the entry point of where Torrey Pines Reserve, State Natural Reserve is, and then we're just gonna do a little bit of a cool down. Believe it or not, it's a little chillier than we might have liked. There's a little bit of cadence break, and we'll put the spike into a safety 1 position, so we're not trailing an edge. We're keeping an eye where the spike is, and the bike will find his own line. Spikeboarder finds their line, and now just a little bit of a cool down here, and take in this sunset here, and luckily there's a little bit of space where the cars and the pedestrians are. People walk in both directions here, but do be very careful. Cars are coming at you. Sometimes the cars jump in this bike lane. The sun's going down, it's late in the day, and they're kind of going all over the place here. So mind the P's and Q's along this coastal highway. And of course, over in the unprotected lane, people are going very, very, very quickly. So here's just a little bit of a cool down before we jump into the rental car that's parked up here. Folks, we hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you take a peek at the accompanying video that's titled Torrey Pines State Natural Reserve, and see how we climbed that. That was our warm-up before we did this. And like I said, I would repeat this probably 2 more times for a workout, and then go home. It'd be about an hour, hour and a half, and it would be a tremendously sweet skiing workout. That would be what it is. SpikeBoard's simplified form of roller skiing. We hope you've enjoyed this. We hope to hear from you. Give us a call and begin the sport of balanced strength. You will enjoy it, and especially all those people who've already done all their personal records and gone through a lot of different sports. Man, this is going to be great for you. And if you're just a young kid, learn this physical literacy, put it in your pocket, and you're going to get ripped right out your door and enjoy it quite a bit. So folks, thanks a lot. We'll see you at the next one. Spike hard, spike often, spike boarding.